for the next 3 weeks. We're going to be weary, believe me, 3 weeks from now about all the talk. We'll be all talked out and all read out and watched out, because people are this is just going to be an orgy of salivating over these matchups here for the next 3 weeks, and that's what they wanted when they set this up. Let's decide who the best team is. Let's decide it on the field, and so yeah, it's going to be big fun. But by the way, the Oregon opened as an 8-point favorite over Florida State, and it's already up to 9.5. Is what I read this morning, because lots of Oregon money coming in. So it's certainly not going to be any walkover for the undefeated Seminoles, because they're more than a touchdown underdog.
Man, Dan, just coming in full circle, thinking back, you and I were on the air live when Braxton Miller went down. I remember that.
That's
day.
right.
It was a Monday, and you and I were talking about, wow, just as we're getting ready to preview the season, and wow, everything changes for the Buckeyes here. And JT Barrett, actually, it was, is it going to be Cardale Jones? Is it going to be JT Barrett? A lot of people just assumed that it was going to be Cardale Jones, and then the change was made. But I just remember us going, well, clearly at this point, I guess you still got goals, but, playoffs now become a very different conversation. This is going to be a learning season. How can and I think you and I both said we expect a loss or two easily throughout the course of this season, and then they'll
you're right.
For next year.
I felt it had taken the team from a possible 11-1 season. I didn't think they'd ever go undefeated, but I thought it took them from an 11-1 team to a 9-3 team. Is really what I thought the realistic effect of losing Braxton Miller. Before they'd played a single football game, I thought it made them a 3-loss team, realistically looking at it.
We both did.
And, obviously how things have played out has just been remarkable. And Urban Meyer keeps talking about how close this team is. And if you can make any observation that any of the four teams are peaking right now,
it's us,
clearly it's the Buckeyes. So you've got to just and going against Alabama, or different magnitude, different level of competition than anything they've seen all year. But Buckeyes are going to show up in New Orleans. I guarantee you that.
Yeah, cannot wait. You and I, as you said, we have a lot of time to talk about that as we get closer to it. We'll be talked out by the time we get to the bowl game, and then maybe another bowl game after that. It's going to be a lot of fun. Plus, it's always the historic aspect of the first time we go through anything like this. It's going to be our first chance to see how this works and actually crown a champion on the field for once instead of
that's right.
In the
and of course,
polls,
the Buckeyes, of course, going back to New Orleans for the first time in 4 years. Played in the Sugar Bowl after the 2010 season, beat Arkansas. But we've unplayed that game. That game, that's no longer out
count.
there.
Yes,
they unplayed it, so it did not happen.
That game did not happen. Speaking of did not happen, this may only be a 3-team playoff after all. Jerry and I, my son, were joking. I said, Dan Wismar and I have been talking all week about the eventual forfeiture of these Florida State wins, because I still think it's coming,
right,
man. So maybe Oregon can do us all a favor, and at least we only have to vacate a semifinal team and not the eventual champion or anything like that. I'll tell you what, I will. Not off the field at all, because that is criminal university over there. But on the field, I'll shut my mouth about Florida State if they beat both of these games, win both of these games, and can do it. But I don't think they can, man. I think they barely can do it at a certain level of competition, and I think that this is higher than just about anybody that they have played. I mean, Georgia Tech gave them. I thought for sure the Jackets were going to pull that thing off, man, because they gave them everything they could handle for a minute there, man.
Yeah, they did. It was a good game, and I agree. And if I was a little bit more bullish on Oregon, I would be inclined to agree with you. I am not, overwhelmed with what I see from Oregon. I almost hope they win, because I think if the Buckeyes can knock off Alabama, I think we can take Oregon too.
I'll be honest with you. I think the Buckeyes can beat either team on the other side of that bracket. I think the challenge is Alabama. If you got to beat the Tide.
Yeah, you're right. Clearly, Alabama's number one for the right reason.
That's going to be a lot of fun too, man. And they've got the pressure on them of being the first number 1 seed in the first playoff, you know. So meanwhile,
all the pressure is on Alabama, no doubt. I mean, the Buckeyes had a hugely successful season, no matter what happens on
house
January
money,
1.
Dan.
And
I
think
money.
they'll be able to play it fast and loose.
Yeah, Bucks are playing with house money here, man. It's called Cardale
Exactly.
Jones. At this point, we're just going for it. And you know, that's when a team plays loose, man. There you go. After they unleashed on Wisconsin, and look, Wisconsin's not Alabama, but after that the other day, man, this team defensively, there's not a lot that I don't think that they can do, man. And it's funny because that was such a big question coming into the season, would be how would they evolve defensively. So a lot of cool stuff to talk about here, Dan. We'll get started rolling there. I know Wednesday too, you and I will know. I mean, it's not going to be the big dramatic decision that it was last week, but where the Browns are going this week, heading into Cincinnati. Now, forget what you think and I think they should do. What does your gut tell you? Because everything in my gut is screaming that the Browns are not jumping up and down to make a change this week, but that's just looking at the circumstances. That's not saying what I would do, because at this point, I don't know what I would do, but I don't know that they will. I think one more week before they make any changes. What do you think happens by the time we talk on Wednesday?
Boy, you know, who the heck knows? But, you know, I think if they stay with Hoyer, it'll be for the reason that Manziel has just alienated the front office to the point that they can't, in good conscience, play him and reward him for the way he's acted.
Yeah.
You know, they certainly, like you said earlier, good point. Hoyer is 2-0 against Cincinnati in his last 2 games against them. You know, that's maybe a good enough reason to go. But I tell you this: if they decide to go with Manziel, there's not going to be a lot of whining and protesting around Cleveland, Ohio, just because, like you said, the pendulum has swung the other way, and people certainly are going to understand, even if they don't agree. Because Hoyer's defenders, their quiver full of arrows is getting pretty depleted in terms of arguments that they can make for keeping Brian Hoyer as a starter, no matter how much you admire and like the kid and want to see him succeed. So,
that's me.
Like I said,
that's
if they
what
make
you just
the change,
said.
they're not going to be met with a great wave of protest.
Dan, you just described me. I've been in the camp, and I don't mean I'm a Hoyer guy, but I've been in the camp of Brian Hoyer. Absolutely. I have. And
you're pulling the trigger on that gun and there's no ammo left in it.
Right. You know, that's the thing. It's not Hoyer. It's not Manziel. It's his confidence. I saw him. I mean, I don't know if whatever it is that's in his head is in his head. The overthrows, I have no doubt in my mind it's because he's scared to underthrow the damn ball, man. And that's fine. You have to deal with that. You have to deal with that pressure. You have to be able to do that to be an NFL quarterback. So it answers a question for me about Brian Hoyer. Now, if we're getting into the just trying to win this week, he may still be the answer to that question. But that being his confidence, it was his one intangible. I mean, I guess the only person that needs to still be confident in him is the rest of the locker room. If they still believe in him, then he can be your quarterback this week. If they don't, then you have to make a change. And I think that's the one question that Mike Pettine's going to ask is does the locker room believe in him, and can we just win this week? And if the answer to those two are yes, it'll still be Hoyer, and then it'll go forward. But
you may be right.
Where do you go? How if I'm Brian Hoyer, how the hell do I feel better to go out there next week? Like, for whatever it is, if you want to blame everybody else and Hoyer, it's everybody's mistakes. They're not all going to fix them next week. So I don't know, man. I just don't think he can win no matter what.
I think 7-6. I think 7-6 is a good representative record for this team, and I don't think their record is deceiving either direction. I will say this. I want a question you had mentioned earlier, and we didn't really get around to. At the stadium yesterday, I did not detect any Johnny chants, any "Let's go Johnny," any Johnny. There was none of that I could hear. for the most part, even when Hoyer was, at his worst, overthrowing guys by 10 yards and just not getting the job done, we expected it. The guys that sit around me, a guy turned around, been sitting in front of me for 15 years, and he said, when do you think we hear the first Johnny chant? Is it the first incompletion, the first interception, the first 3 and out? What's it going to be? And I said, I don't know, one of those. It'll be in the first quarter. And it never came. It never happened. It really didn't. And I think that maybe as hard as I've been on my fellow attendees there at Brown Stadium in recent weeks, I think maybe it's a credit to them. I think they just showed some respect to Hoyer by not doing that. I think a lot of people would have been ready to punch anybody that started the Johnny chant. I wouldn't necessarily be one of them, but I would have wanted to. But it just didn't happen. And so, maybe in other parts of the stadium I couldn't hear. Maybe there was some murmuring like that, but it wasn't discernible to me.
And you know what? I'm with you. I didn't notice the Johnny chants. I did notice some early booing of the offense right away, but that tapered a bit as the game got rolling and the defense was playing so well. Booing. But yeah, and then later, as the drives were stalling out, there was definitely booing there. But
no doubt. Yeah, there was definitely booing, but it didn't turn into chants for Johnny.
Dan Wismar from the Cleveland Fan. Always a good conversation, talking some Browns and Buckeyes. You and I will circle back. We'll look ahead. We'll talk a little Bengals and Browns here. We'll see what the Browns do at quarterback. We'll talk some Buckeyes, hoops, and so much more when we check back in on Wednesday.
Sounds good, Jerry. See you then.
And who knows? The Tribe, they may be heavy at work here, too. Dan Wismar from the Cleveland Fan, my man, back with us on Wednesdays. Guys, we're going to take a break. When we come back, phone lines are back open. Final chance if you didn't get in earlier, 216-539-7535. 216-539-7535. Give us a call. Hit us up, facebook.com/thesportsfix. Tweet with us at thesportsfixcle. Email us, thesportsfix@AOL.com. When we come back, your final takes, talk Cavaliers, preview. Hey, Royal Family checking the Cavs out as they wrap up this road trip here with Brooklyn. 6 in a row, going for 7. Monsters, they've got 4 in a row themselves. We'll talk about all of that, the news of the day, set the stage for tomorrow, your takes and more. Don't go anywhere. Final segment of the Sports Fix coming up next.
Hang on, Sloopy, Sloopy, hang on, yeah. Hang on, Sloopy, Sloopy, hang on, yeah.
We here at the Sports Fix are very in-depth when we interview the sports stars.
Oh, I saw the whole thing, dude. First you were all like, whoa, and then we were like, whoa, and then you were like, whoa. What are you talking about? You call it serious thrill issues, dude. Oh, awesome. Ooh.
Maybe not, but you should still listen.
Guys, want to take just a second as we head into this break and remind you about the official business printing source of the Sports Fix, our friends at Signs and Ship. Signs and Ship, I'm telling you, Chris and Pam, they've taken care of me since day one, and they can do the same for you. Whether you're a small business that's already been established and you're looking to grow to that next level and expand your business, or perhaps you've got an idea that you just know is going to be a great business and you need to figure out how to brand it and how to promote it and put it out there, Signs and Ship is the place for you. If you need a logo, they can create one for you. They have a fantastic graphic designer. Business cards, signs, banners, yard signs, mobile advertising, anything you can think of that you need to promote your business, they've got it at Signs and Ship. The best thing about them, too, is each of their locations, whether it's the home base here in Elyria, Ohio that I work with, or their spots in Virginia, Florida, and Pennsylvania, it's all local sourced. Very important to me because we all understand that small business is the lifeblood of the community. So check them out, signsandship.com, or call Chris and Pam today, 440-323-6060, the home office in Elyria, Ohio. Signs and Ship, quality printing at affordable prices.
Portions of the Sports Fix brought to you by Fantasy Jocks. Visit fantasyjocks.com, your fantasy sports superstore. Championship belts, rings, trophies, and more. Fantasy sports lovers, you put so much time, hard work, and effort into playing week to week that it quickly stops being a fantasy and starts getting real. Real time spent making real decisions, creating real victory.
I'm the greatest man in the world!
And when the smoke clears, you want to show off those victories with a real prize. I mean, a really real prize.
Yeah.
Nobody does that like Fantasy Jocks. The crew over at Fantasy Jocks have beautiful, high-quality, and heavy-duty championship belts, rings, trophies, and so much more for all your fantasy sports needs.